How's it going, everybody? This is Jeff Hillen with Selling Stories, where we discuss the struggles, successes, and life lessons learned through sales and in sales. I've got my first female guest, which I'm super excited about. Christina Lecuyer, how are you doing today?
Oh my gosh, the first female guest. I'm so stoked and honored. I'm excited. Let's do it.
So I have a few words that I hope describe. You can tell me if I'm wrong. Female badass, Christian, success and business coach, former pro golfer, decide it's your turn podcast host with over 50,000 downloads to date. Is that all right?
Yes, that's phenomenal. And now we've had like closer to 70, so I'm here for it.
Damn. So by the time this post will probably be a million.
Well,
Hey,
fingers crossed.
hey, so I listened to a bunch of your podcasts. I got turned on to you by one of my friends. And one of the things I heard you say, kind of going back into your story, is when you turned 18, you got really good looking and also really good at golf. Two things that I'm neither of, but I'm hoping happen in my lifetime. So I was hopeful to see if you could tell a little bit about that story and what took you down that journey and where you started.
Yeah, absolutely. I always tell a quick little story. It usually makes people snicker a little bit. But when I was 18 years old, I always say two things happened to me. One, I got good at golf, and one, I got good looking. And both of those things that you would think that they would be an amazing, kind of combination. But for me, I always talk about how those two things happen. And really, it kind of like the trajectory of my life kind of changed after those two things happened, because up until I was like 18 years old, I was very like middle of the road. I was the oldest child. I was always a good girl. I had two younger brothers who were very good at golf. I never really was into golf, but I took up golf at 18 because I was working at a country club. I had graduated college or I graduated high school, pardon me, and I never went directly to college. I took like 3 years off. So that first summer after high school, I just learned how to play golf because all the guys that I was working with at the private country clubs went and played golf after. And I was a huge tomboy, and so I wanted to learn how to play golf. Well, I got really good really fast. Then during that time, I graduated high school, and then I went traveling for about 4 months by myself. I went backpacking through New Zealand, Fiji, Malaysia, came home, and, I kind of had maybe grown into my looks, but both of those things happened at one time. And what happened was, I could say it was almost like a drug, because everyone's like, oh, you're so good looking. You're so good at golf. Your life is going to be amazing. And for me, it was like that first taste of like notoriety. It was that first taste of like, oh, I'm being noticed. And I was never really noticed before. And so I kind of like in my brain, and at 18 years old, you're still kind of like, I call myself like a little kid brain, but I wasn't really fully developed yet. So I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. This like attention is amazing. How do I get more of this? And in my brain, I just figured if I got better looking, and in my brain, that was like getting skinnier. And if I got better at golf, so I just became obsessed with it. And at the time too, I really started to make money, like I started out in the bar industry. I was working at the bar industry at night. I was making fucking like $1,000 a night. Like I was crushing it.
Whoa.
And so,
Yeah.
money, looks, and golf, I associated those things with success. So I was like, how do I get more of that? And really, for the next probably 9 to 10 years, I became addicted to what I call the external validation, which is you're so pretty, you're so smart, you're so good at golf, your life is going to be amazing. You've got like everything. And it became my drug. And it was a very fast track to not the happiest life. It was not
Hmm.
the healthiest life. And for 9 years, I was obsessed with those things. And really at 27, 28, I'd gone to Q school three times. I'd failed to get my tour card. I was making good money, but I wasn't happy. And I had a horrible eating disorder. And at the time, who's my now husband, but I had been dating my husband at that time for probably 5 to 6 years. And I was going to lose that relationship because I was absolutely miserable. I was sick. I was unhealthy. And at 27, 28, I just decided I had to do something different. So that's kind of the story on, the looks and the golf. And it sounds amazing and great. And there was a lot of highs in those 9 years, but ultimately it was kind of like the beginning of the end for me.
Yeah. I mean, thank you so much for sharing that. I know it comes off easy for you just because of, what you do. And we'll get into that a little bit, but I know it's really difficult for anybody to talk about the internal struggles, especially when you're looking at outside results to kind of feed that internal feeling. And what you bring up, from the sales side is results a lot of times dictate how you feel. And that can be really challenging because you're going to lose, you're going to fail. And if your opinion of yourself is based off those results solely, it becomes very difficult to just keep going when things get difficult. So I really appreciate you telling that.
Of course, absolutely.
So you mentioned staying mentally strong, and I always think golf is one of those sports where you have to be mentally strong. And it's a solo sport. You know, everybody's looking at you. You can't look at a teammate and pass the ball. It's in your hands to kind of see where things go. Do you have any stories about where your mental strength was tested, either at an event or a specific situation, and how you dealt with that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I could probably tell you two kind of different situations. So I always say now, I play better golf now, where basically like never practice, warm up 3 minutes, play golf once a week because I have a much stronger mindset. And also, too, I put a lot less pressure on it than when I was doing it trying to make a living. And again, kind of in the story that I told you before, everyone told me that golf was my life. Everyone told me that golf was going to make me happy, successful, rich. Like if I didn't do golf, who was I? And even just yesterday, I was having a conversation with a good friend of mine who has built and now is about to sell a multi-million-dollar company. She built it from the ground, and she's talking about, selling it, and her identity is kind of really caught, and she's strong mentally as well. But like we all get kind of a caught in our identity. I've worked with a lot of men over the years, and men in particular are so caught up in their identity based on their work, how much money they make and what they do for a living. Guys in particular, women, there's a lot of different things, but
Yeah.
guys in particular that. And for myself, when I was playing golf, it was very much like my social media handle now is Be Christina, because I encourage every single person to be themselves. Be Jeffrey, be Christina, be Kathy, be Mike, whatever. But
Yeah.
it used to be Golf Christina because my sole identity was golf. And even in college, like, you kind of wanted to know like my mindset in college. I think there was something about me. Like I started playing golf at the age of 18. Like I said, I took up golf at 18, got like very good very quickly. I grew up in a golf family. I definitely had some natural talent, but how I got so good so quickly is my biggest strength in life by far is I am the hardest worker and I am so competitive. I'm really not that good at anything, and I'm definitely not that talented at much, but I'll work pretty much most motherfuckers.
Yeah.
I really
Does
will.
that mean, waking up and putting, or putting until the sun went down? What does that really mean on the golf side for you
Oh my
when you're on
God,
that
a
journey?
100%. I remember the first year I was at, first year I turned professional right out of college. And like going to college, you guys, I had never hit out of a bunker. God's honest truth, hand on my heart. I had never hit out a bunker when I got a full scholarship to go play in college. Like turned 18, started playing golf, won the first three tournaments I ever played in, like broke 70, 80, and, all in one summer, went to college, had never hit in a bunker. First year of college, I was a dumpster fire. I was so bad. But my last 3 years of college, I was like an All-American. I won 5 times. I did all the things. So when I turned professional the year after I graduated college, I went out to Arizona and I was playing on a mini tour called the Cactus Tour. And keep in mind, I went to college late. I went to college at like 22. So I graduated college when I was like 25, 26, right? So I had moved out to Arizona, and it was the summer tour. It was called the Cactus Tour, and it was like a mini tour for women's golf before my first year of going to Q school. And I remember it was like 120 degrees every single day in Arizona. And after our golf tournament, so I used to play in the golf tournament, I used to go out with towels on my head around my neck and putt for hours, when other girls, most of the other girls were like going for lunch or going for drinks or frozen yogurt or whatever. But I was out on that putting green. Number one, I was so far behind everyone else. Everyone else had started playing golf when they were like two, it felt like. And I
Yeah.
had just basically started playing golf like 6 years ago, really. But I was out there like with towels on my head, just putting. Like I wasn't that good, but I was going to out practice most people. And so that is the answer. Like, yes, I was just like, I just outdid most people. Now, do I do that with golf now? No. Back
Yeah.
then I had to.
Yeah, no, and it's interesting you bring that up. I think preparation in life and no matter what you're doing is critical for success. If you stand in front of a 5 foot putt and you've done it a million times, I'm not saying you still won't think of it, especially if the situation's a little bit heightened, but you've done it a million times. It's like your brain is automatically in that motion. Whereas if I walk down the golf course the first time for the year, I'm going to look at the green maybe differently. I'm going to just overthink the putt so much. When the reality is, it's like if you've done it so many times. And in the sales side for us, I think a lot of times people get into ruts in sales where they just have to go back to the principles of things that work for them. Think about why is your customer asking you for something? How are you providing value? Why are you different? What needs are you able to solve? And if you're able to walk through the experience and success you've had, it's a lot easier for you to have confidence and be somebody that wants to go out and succeed. So that's interesting though, because I'll tell you what, I still haven't figured out the art of putting. So maybe I'll learn something. Maybe I'll
Putting
learn
is
something
by far
soon.
my biggest strength. Mentally, you asked me the question about mental. I
Yeah.
will tell you right now, if you go look at my feed, if you watch me back in the day, like years ago when I posted a lot more golf stuff, and everyone I've done corporate events for, I used to do, like I still do it every once in a while for very specific clients, but companies and clients and charities used to hire me to play golf with executives. $10,000 a day, I'd come out and we can talk all about that. But one of the things that I always used to say is I'm the world's greatest putter. I will still say that today. This past weekend, I was out in Arizona. I say it all the time. I'm like, I'm the world's greatest putter. My belief in my putting is the reason why I'm such a good putter. Am I like a great putter? I'm probably better than most, but am I
Yeah.
good compared to like actually good people? Hell no. But my belief that I am such a good putter is one of the reasons why I'm a good putter. If I miss it, I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing because I've got to make the next one. I'm such a good putter. And people will tell me, oh, you're the world's greatest putter or you're the best putter at the club because I literally put it out into the world. Whether anyone thinks it's cocky or not, fuck, I am a great putter because I say that consistently.
Well, I'm going to put you on the spot because
Yeah.
we all know the phrase drive for show, putt for dough.
Oh,
And I've heard that
100%.
you play some money games. So I want to know what's one of, if not the coolest money game story you have from golf.
Oh my gosh, there's so many good games, good money games. So I'll take you back to the very, 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 very first money game I've ever played. So, like I told you, I grew up. I didn't say I grew up in Canada. My dad was in the golfing family, but I used to work at the country clubs. And when I first started playing golf, like the first summer I started playing golf, I was like 18 years old. I was working in Canada. You can work in the bars at 18. That's our drinking age. I was working at the bars at night, and I was working at the golf courses during the day. And so like it was like basically like I was just working nonstop, but I had money. And so when I first started playing golf, all of the pros in this city, like, and I lived in a city of 1 million people, they all used to come out to the country club that I was working at, and it was called the Friday Money Game. And I think the buy-in at the time was like maybe something cheap, like $200, but there was all these side actions and all the things. And so one Friday I asked if I could play. I was the only female, obviously, only
Yeah.
female. I had just started playing golf. The first game they let me play from like I don't know if it was like the senior tees or the women's tees, and they were all playing for the back. I had to put in my $200 and side games and all the little things like that. But the only reason why I got to play is because I had the money, right?
Yeah.
Well, sure
Ante
enough,
up. I don't care. Female, male,
yeah,
doesn't matter. Money talks. Bring it to the
money talks,
table.
right?
Yeah.
But like I will tell you that is still to this day, now as a business coach and helping people, I will always say play with people who are better than you. Be around people who are better than you. The reason I got so good so fast is I was playing with people who absolutely whipped my ass all day, every day. I
Yeah.
was in and around that. I was a sponge. I learned from people who were better than me. And that's something I still talk about today, even in business and life and all the things. I never want to be the smartest person in the room. If I can be around people who are, their net worths are hundreds of millions of dollars, that's fucking amazing because I'm going to learn something from them. And it was the same thing on the golf course. So my very first money game was like, I'm sure that whole summer I just got my ass pounded and I literally probably made no money. But I remember towards the end of the season, they made me move back to the guys' tees because I had ended up playing pretty well and, started to win some of the money.
Well, I'm going to ask you for a flip side of that. You learn or you hear that you can close deals on the golf course. So as you evolved later in life, do you have any stories about how you took people to maybe kind of your home away from home and use that to your advantage?
I will tell you, every person who's listening to this is probably a salesperson. And, I used to try to explain to people what I did. I said I was a human connection expert on the golf course, but I really want to explain it to your listener because I think this is very, very helpful. Think of you're in sales, you're in insurance world, right?
Material handling, but I have some insurance background. Yep.
Okay. Material handling. Many of your customers, many of your clients, whether it's customer or client, I want you guys to put yourself in this story. You take a person to a basketball game, you wine and dine them, you talk about business. Those people end up doing business towards the end of the day. That's why you do it, right? Like you want to create a great customer experience, you want to talk about business, you're going to retain that customer. I called myself a human connection expert. And the reason why I did this is guys in general, don't take offense to this, but guys, you're stupid. You are dumb when it comes to creating a human connection on the golf course. A
Yeah.
lot of the reasons why companies and corporations hired me, executives hired me, is I came in and I was basically the connection, the human connection between the customer and the client on the golf course. Yes, I happen to look a certain way. Yes, I happen to golf a certain way. But what I really did was create a human connection on the golf course. People buy people, guys. We all know this in sales. Today, I talk about this all the time. If you can create a human connection with another human being on the golf course, you have a much better chance to do business with that person long term. So, true story. I was golfing with four guys. First tee, brought me out first tee. I didn't know really anyone besides the guy who brought me out. And so I was, we're sitting on the first tee waiting to tee off and I'm bullshitting. I'm like, so, you married? Oh, yeah, I'm married. You got any kids? Oh, yeah, I got two kids. The fucking guy who's apparently hired me to come out to talk to his customers, his long-term customers, had no idea he was married and had no idea he had kids.
Yeah.
What I did right there was create that human connection. So now they have another connection, another human connection talking point. So at the end of the day, you find out that, oh my gosh, you got two kids, the same thing, and you both like, Pittsburgh Steelers football.
Yeah.
You've created another human connection spot. Really, if you can do that, sales becomes so much easier because people buy people. And
And
so
what you brought
that's
up, I just have to interject. We
yeah,
all
please.
learn in the sales side in the office, hey, look around the office and look for pictures of hunting or golf. So you're just taking that same approach and using it on the golf course. Like, don't just look at the green and think, oh, we're 300 yards out. Use those same principles on the golf course that you're taught to learn in a sales one-on-one meeting when you meet a contact for the first time in an office.
Absolutely, 110%. And also, too, I will tell you, think about a round of golf. A round of golf, on average, when you think about maybe 10 minutes at the driving range, 4 hours on the golf course, and an hour having a drink and a snack after, you're talking about probably on average 5 to 6 hours with this person. It is very hard to hide who you are in a 6 hour time period.
Oh yeah.
And that's why I think golf is one of the greatest places ever. Here in the United States, we bitch that our presidents play golf. I think that's the stupidest thing ever. There is so much amazing golf done or business done on a golf course. You actually get to know another human being in that 6 hour time frame. So when I tell people that I used to make $10,000 a day, I'm like, do you know what the ROI I made for a lot of my customers, for years and years and years on the golf course? They
Yeah.
thought I was a drop in the bucket compared to what I was able to do for them on the golf course.
No, and what you brought up, I wanted to ask this later, but you
Yeah.
made it really easy for me to bring up now. I think for guys talking to women, especially women that look a certain way, can be a little intimidating. And I wanted to see what advice you would have for men when dealing with women in the business world to make sure, one, you're keeping it professional, and two, how do you do things? So you mentioned do you have wife, do you have kids? You're opening up that window to just to be an average person. And I think you come across very easy to talk to men, get along with men. So I was hoping maybe you could give some insight to the guys that are a little uncertain how to speak to women and make sure it's not creepy, but at the same time is like you treat anybody else.
Absolutely. I think I do have this, I always say that every person has a God-given talent and we're supposed to use that, probably mostly in our lives and especially in our business lives. I definitely can talk to anyone. There's no doubt about it. I try to make everyone I think I'm pretty good at reading a room really well. I know if I can walk up and be like, "What's up, fuckers? Let's go." Or I'll be like, "Hey guys, how are you today?"
Yeah, yeah.
I think I'm pretty good at being able to do that and kind of gauge the room. But I think it comes down to just really being yourself and being a good person. I can tell, and you had asked me in the pre notes if if there was certain things that we couldn't talk about or whatever. And I'll be honest, I did the corporate golf thing for over 10 years. 99% of my clients were men. I traveled all over the country. I had dinner with these guys. I was on the course. We were having cocktails. We were doing all the things for a very long period of time. I can honestly say working with men was one of the greatest things ever. I am the woman who will tell you having male clients has been a huge blessing to me, and it's helped me in the career that I even have now. I
Yeah.
will say I probably was uncomfortable maybe twice in my whole entire career, and I worked with like literally hundreds of people from every demographic possible, from the, 9 to 5 $20 an hour guy to I had clients who were literally on the Fortune 500 list. I'm very, very blessed to say that I never really caught myself in a bad situation. I think I handled myself extremely professionally.
Hmm.
I can play the game, but I also know where the line is drawn in the sand. I've been with my husband for over 20 years. I also know that, like, I'm going to mention that I'm married, but I'm also not going to talk about my marriage the whole time. That's not why
Yeah.
you have me there. And
Hmm.
so I get it. I can play the game. But I think for guys on their side, I think it's very important for, don't cross the line right off the bat. Like, read the room, figure out like who this person is. Not every woman obviously acts like me. I cuss like a sailor. I'm very, a little bit witty. I will throw things right back at you, but some women might take offense to that. But I also say too that, like, I find it very difficult in this day and age where people have to tiptoe around certain things, and so many people get, like, are the just the climate of the world. I think
Hmm.
just be a good person, ask really good questions, care about another human being. I think in sales, this is sales 101. Fucking listen more than you talk. Pay attention. What is this person, actually interested in? Don't be a douchebag right off the bat. And if
Yeah.
you are nervous around her, try to make, just try to get a little bit more from her in order to open her up to see where you can go and where you can kind of take it. That would be my best advice.
No, and I think something you bring up, which is a simple phrase that comes to my mind, is the truth will set you free. I'm married, I have kids, and I told my wife that I had a podcast interview with my first female guest, which I was super pumped up about. She walked in the door and she didn't know what was going on, and she saw me talking to a female on the other end. Her antenna might go up and be like, "Hey, what's going on?" So again, if you're going to a corporate event or you're going to be working with Christina or somebody just in the regular world, I think just be honest. And again, that'll help, I guess, avoid any potential concern because you've already addressed it ahead of time. And I just appreciate you saying that because I think it is difficult for guys not to treat women differently, especially ones where they may be nervous, like, oh man, if I was golfing right now, if I told my wife I was golfing with the guys and she pulled up and saw you golfing with us, first thing she'd be like is like, who's that? Right. And unfortunately, she wouldn't say that about any of the other guys that I was golfing with. And you have to be real and understanding of how another person might feel. So just be transparent. I think it helps avoid a lot of situations.
Absolutely. And let's flip the script on this too. There has, over the years, like, I have never hidden that I'm married. Yes, I definitely, if I'm there to play golf with guys, I'm probably not going to be talking about my marriage the whole entire time, but I'm very open. Like, you can look at my social media and every third post, there's, me and my husband. I'm very happily married. I'm very thankful for that. But I also understand, like, why I'm there. I'm there
Mm-hmm.
to talk about you and your business and how to, like, what you're interested in and all the things. But I will say, for the ladies, not every woman is like this. I will say, I think I'm very fortunate in the fact that, like, I have a successful husband, I have a successful marriage, but, like, I'm not there to sleep with your husband on the golf course. Like, I
Yeah.
know that there are certain women, but, like, I have had guys who have tried to keep it a secret, like, that they're playing with me. I had no idea. Their wives come up, they leave the golf course on hole 16. And it's also like, I look at it as this is a them thing, not a me thing. And so I
Mm-hmm.
would really like to kind of point that out. If there is any women listening, like, it is, I'll be honest, it's never about me. Because if you're comfortable in your marriage, don't fucking lie that you're playing with a girl. Like,
Yeah.
don't do that. Like, you're going to get in trouble. But I also will say that, like, most of the time, ladies, business is business. I get it. I have a successful marriage. I have money. I don't need yours or your husband's. I'm there to do a job. And so, it's kind of that count, like, it's that balance of knowing who you're with. And also, like you said, the truth will set you free.
Yeah, and I think guy girl doesn't matter. I mean, there's certain people, you said read the room. There's certain people that you may be able to curse in front of. There's certain people
Yep.
you can't, whether they're man, woman, doesn't really matter. You have to be able to, I think you brought it up earlier, listen before you speak. So if you're willing to read the room first before you just, initiate, say you read a person, sometimes you can by how they look, but you could be wrong. And I would just say, be very in tune with observing and listening before making judgments. And guy girl, I'm glad you brought it up because I think there's that stigma, but I think you're right. Just be transparent and also just understand the room before you act a certain way.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to get into it. I brought it up. Decide it's your turn. You at some point made a decision to decide on maybe making a different journey in your life and listening to what your heart was telling you or what you wanted to do instead of what other people were doing. So could you talk a little bit about that, about your podcast and your life change?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, like when I kind of had my like rock bottom moment at like 27, 28, I kind of looked around the world and I was like, okay, hold on. I have everything that you would think would make me happy. Have looks, I have money, I have a career, I've played golf, I have a relationship, I have all of these things, and I am extremely unhappy. Like, how the hell did this happen? And how do other people who have a lot less than I do, how are they happy? And that was really kind of like the moment that I made a decision. And that's kind of like, at the time I didn't know that's where my brand was coming from, but it really was like a burn the bridges decision. And it was like, okay, I've got to figure out how to be happy. Or like, I hate to say it and I don't know for sure, but like I don't know if I would have lost my business, my life, my job, all of the things, but like I would have lost a lot.
Yeah, it was that serious. It wasn't just like
Oh,
some
it was a hundred
contemplation. It was
percent
how
like
you're feeling all the time. I mean,
correct. It was
yeah.
like I was sick, I was miserable, I did not want to exist the way that I was existing. And so I just made a decision. I was going to figure out how to be happy. And that's kind of like where I always say like the three pillars of everything I teach are decision, faith, and action. So decision is a true decision. People use the word I decided all the time. Bullshit. You haven't decided. A decision is burn the bridges. Nothing else is going to happen that makes me waver on this decision. Then there's a crap ton of action. And then there's the faith part. And like, I truly do believe when you make a true decision, the universe, God, source, whatever you want to believe, works in your favor to make that happen. And even if it isn't exactly what you think, it's going to get you to where you want to go. But I made a decision that I was going to figure out how to be happy. I knew that there was other people that were happy that were like literally didn't have as much as I did. And I was like, how did they do that? What do they think? Like, where are they focused? And that's really when I got into self-development. I became obsessed with self-development. Like I read every book. I was like literally reading a book, listening to a YouTube, and like writing shit down on the Stairmaster for like 5 years straight. Like I became obsessed with it. And slowly but surely, like obviously there's a lot in between, but slowly but surely, I was starting to be happier. I was much more positive. Things were working out for me. Like opportunities were happening. I was still making a crap ton of money. And women, especially in the beginning, are like, hey, how are you so confident? Like, how have you created this business? How do you command your worth? How have you changed your life? Like, you can just tell when a person is happy and confident in themselves. And that's really when I was like, well, I'm doing this. I've hired this person. I've invested in this. And then slowly but surely, I was like, wait a minute, I'm investing tens of thousands of dollars into myself. Like, someone should pay me to do this, because if someone can help me, I can help someone else. And
Yeah.
back in 2017 is really when I kind of just started, putting myself out there as kind of a coach. And like I at the time in the beginning, I was really obsessed with masterminds. And mastermind is just a like-minded group of people coming together to accelerate growth. And so it's just like I kind of said, like, back in the day when I started playing golf, I was just around people who were better than me. And so I kind of knew that like if I wanted to get better at something, like thinking wise, mindset wise, business wise, I wanted to be around people who were better than me. And so I started putting these groups together. And fast forward, we're 6 years, pretty much 6 years into it. And I now brand myself as a confidence coach. I have the Decide It's Your Turn podcast, but basically I help people step into their most confident, purposeful lives. I help them build businesses. I help them scale businesses. And I truly the only thing I care about is a person living in their God-given purpose, making money, and enjoying the process. And all of those things encompass I'm very fortunate to say that I probably have like 40 clients at the moment, and every industry you can possibly imagine, because business is business kind of across the board, and life is life kind of across the board, and everything is mindset and strategy. And that truly to me is those three pillars of the decision, faith, and action pillars that I teach are truly, in my opinion, everything when it comes to having a successful life and business.
I'm going to put my opinion. Now, you're the expert, but I'm going to put
Yeah.
my opinion on it. I think decision is easier for some people. I'm going to do that, and then faith can be difficult. Like you have to have faith in yourself or faith in something else. I think action could potentially be the hardest one of those three, because
100%.
until you walk through it and continue walking through it, it's very difficult. Sometimes it's just your ideas, not really your action. So do you have any clients? I don't want any names, but do you have any
Yeah.
clients where you can show or demonstrate on this podcast, hey, here's an action that somebody took that you were suggesting, and maybe what the result was from actually taking action?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I some of my long-term clients have been with me over 3 years, but I love what you said there about a decision. And so I really want to talk about that for a second. A decision does not change based upon circumstances. So, oh, like that, like I say I'm going to do something and then something happens. No, a decision does not change based upon your circumstances. It doesn't change depending on the day. It doesn't depend. It does not change. A decision is something that is like, I'm going to do this, burn the bridges, and like almost letting the faith part is almost like letting go of the way that you expect it to happen, or the timelines that you expect it to happen. Like, I want to make my first $100,000 in the next month or the next year or whatever it is. You have to still be in that decision that, like, if it happens in 2 weeks or 2 years, you've still decided. So a simple one is, I can use one of my guys, one of my guy clients as an example. One of my guy clients, he was in his corporate job for years, and he knew he was a marketing genius because he was seeing the way that his industry had worked for years. He saw the way that it was working, and he's like, this has been happening for the last 200 years in this industry, and it's so old school. And the way that the world works now, like, this is no longer working. And he came up with ideas based upon outside of his industry. He saw the way other industries were working, and he was like, if we use this in my industry, literally, I know it'll work. Like, there's just so much proof in all of these other industries. And he
Hmm.
started his own business. And something that I will tell people too is that, like, there's some big gurus in my space who are like, if you have 90 days of runway, quit your job, it'll force you to do something. I didn't do that. And I'm not 100% a huge fan of that, because especially with a lot of people who have like kids and a spouse and all the things, like, it's scary to be like, oh, I'm just going to quit my job and see how this goes. So I always say, like, how much can you do with both? So, like, we all got to pay our bills, right? And so for me, I didn't quit the golf thing until I really had enough proof and enough evidence that, like, okay, if I commit all of this time that I'm doing the golf right now, if I commit this to my real job or to my new career, then then it'll obviously move faster and take off more. But I was like making, I don't know, $10,000 a month or whatever it was before I even went full time in this coaching business. And
Yeah,
so,
you had results. You didn't just have a feel like, I think this is
yeah,
going to work. You actually had like proof. Okay, I know I'm going to make this, and I can make more if I allocate more time. It makes a lot of sense.
totally. So yeah, like, for absolutely. And so for me, that's just kind of the way that I kind of started. But I will, like, this client that I was referring to, it he started with me, I think, in like the August, I don't know, I think it was August 2019, before the pandemic. Yeah, 2019, I think it was, or maybe in the beginning of 2020. I don't remember exactly, but it was like he was still in his corporate career, but really there had to become a point where it was like, okay, I'm done. And we set deadlines of when it was going to happen. We set steps that had to happen before he quit. And sure enough, in his first year of business, he did over 300,000, and this year he's on track to do seven figures. And it was this man takes so much action, but there's also so much strategy behind it. And then there's the mindset behind it too. You guys, it is scary to do anything new from the beginning. I don't care if you're Tiger Woods and you have the strongest mindset on the planet. If you're switching to basketball, you're going to have the imposter syndrome. You're going to have the, like, can I do this? The limiting beliefs. What are people going to think? What are people going to say? And that happens to everyone. And unless you have someone, like, kind of holding you through that, and you have, like, yeah, if you don't have someone holding you through that, it can be so easy to quit. And that's the one thing that, like, hurts my soul, is when I work with people or I hear people, they'll jump on a discovery call with me and they'll say, I'm so passionate about this. Like, this has changed my life. This is what I want to do. And then I see them like a month later or a year later, and they've quit because, what the neighbor has to say, or even worse, what your family has to say, or, it didn't work as fast as it was supposed to work.
Yeah.
That hurts my heart.
Well, I think one thing you brought up during discussion, which is really important for people to understand, you said you have, say 30 or 40 clients right now, and I think you're really authentic and you've decided, do you like that little pun for you? You've
Love it.
decided
I'm here
that
for it.
you're not fake. And there's people that you know you can help. And the people that you know you can help are going to most relate to Christina. And you don't have to have 5,000 clients to do really well and be really successful. So for people out there in sales, and that's the majority of the listeners that I have, there's going to be potential clients that just aren't a great fit for you to say, I'm going to put all my time and energy, because maybe it's a personality just difference, or they're so committed to a different brand or a different product. I'm not saying you should give up, but be realistic and say, why am I going to spend all this energy over here where I can make a big inroad with people that want to do business with me, with people that really know that I am the best solution for what they're needing. So I think what you brought up there is really special for people to resonate with, that you don't have to be everything for everybody. Be who you want to be and make sure your targets are the ones that you want to work with, not necessarily what everybody else wants you to work with or who they want you to try to get as clients.
Oh, I love that. That's definitely a part of the strategy part, right? Is like knowing like how many people you need. My business model is very different than a lot of clients that I work with in business models. I work in a one-on-one capacity. A lot of people hate the one-on-one one-to-one relationship. They like one to a many, or whatever it is, whatever type of client I'm working with. But yeah, like I mean, maybe you do need 500 clients in order to be successful. Maybe you need 5,000. That's a very different strategy than something that I would take on, because I really only need like 40 clients in order to have like a really successful year. But so that's the one piece of it. And then the second part of it is, absolutely, if you are trying to be something for every single person, you will fail. I 100% know there is a lot of people who do not like me. I mean, I say God and fuck in the same sentence. Like, there is people that would immediately be turned off by me, but it is also in the same breath, it is amazing how many people come to their faith. And like, it's something that chokes me up still to this day, like literally makes me emotional, that so many people on a weekly basis will message me and say, I cannot believe that you speak the way that you do and act the way that you do, and you and God have such a close relationship. I do not brand myself as a religious person. I brand myself as very much a person who has a relationship with God.
Yeah.
I can still be Christina and live out what I truly believe is my God given purpose, serving other humans. And I can still be in my faith, and I can still say fuck, and I can still be so competitive, and like, I am just being myself. And there are so many people on this planet that like love to work with me. And then there's people who aren't for me. And so it's just really helpful to remember, like, one thing that I tell my clients all the time is that there's so much money in this world and there's so many people in this world. If you think it's not working, or if you think, you shouldn't charge a certain amount, or you have to like devalue yourself or be someone who you're not, you are not living out your true purpose. And that is reason why business is hard. Business is never hard for me, because I never think about the money, and I never think about being someone I'm not. This is
No,
me. I'm thinking about being the best.
that's awesome. And one example I want to give to somebody, I had a sales guy one time. We were looking at a multi-million dollar project, and price got brought up. And I'm not saying just because it's a dollar amount, price will never be part of the equation, but the customer is pushing back, and they're asking the question, what can we do? And what they were asking for, I just sat through it. I'm like, if you want to take 1% off this project, do you think that 1% is really the difference between this customer saying yes and saying no? Because if that's the case, then you're not doing your job and demonstrating enough value. They either have the money available to move forward and they see the value in what you're providing, or they just don't have the money. So that 1% is going to be irrelevant. They're not going to move forward because they just can't do it. And I think based off of the value you bring, I think what you said is, what value you bring to the equation. So I'm sure people are going to ask you, hey, can I get the promo discount? Because nobody wants to spend money to get something. But if you can demonstrate and show real results and real value, then the money should really be relevant. Just like buying a house. I don't want to spend $1 million for a house. Say an investment property. I don't want to spend $1 million if I can buy one for $100,000. But if I can look and see that house is going to make me $3 million, well, is the price kind of irrelevant then? Because I'm going to make more than what I'm spending to get. So that's something really sales people in general, you just have to think about. And I think what you bring up from your customers and your realization of how you can find happiness, but also provide value is really important.
Absolutely. And something I always talk about, I obviously brand myself as a confidence coach. I will tell you, immediate women, speaks to a lot of women in particular. I know a lot of guys struggle with it too, but women in particular have very hard time charging what the value that they can bring. Like I always used to say, command your worth, like command what you're worth in your business. If I negotiate on my prices, you immediately discount the belief I have in myself of the results that I am going to provide. Immediately. You do
Hmm.
no longer trust that I believe that I can bring the results that I say that I can if I am willing to negotiate on my prices. I never negotiate on my prices. Now, can I come up with, ways in which to make it work for you, payment plans and all the things. But my price is my price because my confidence in my price and the results that I bring based upon the investment to work with me is honestly part of the reason why you should want to work with me. I am so confident in what I charge and the results that I bring that I will never negotiate on that because if I did, it would immediately put doubt in your head that I believe in what I do.
Yeah, and just to point that out too on the sales side, I think a lot of customers, if you come back with a discount because they push back, the first reaction I'm going to have is, so you're screwing me. You had money, you did not give me your best offer up front, so now I question, how much lower can I go? How much more are you charging than I should? Are you giving this price to everybody? So to your point, stand by what you're offering. Offer the best price and the value that you're bringing, and show results and stand behind it. Don't give them a number and then walk it back if somebody gives you pushback.
Yeah, and people don't pay for something honestly. People like if it's like, a banana to a banana, that's one thing. But like when you definitely when you're talking about a customer experience, when you're talking about like selling yourself,
Yeah.
people literally think it's about money. It's never about the money. It's always about the result that you can provide. People are not buying the price. People are not buying even the thing most of the time. They
Yeah.
are buying the result.
No, that's great. I hope people can rewind that back and listen to it, and they're going to learn a lot from your advice as long as they listen. I know you said listen earlier, where you say fucking listen, right?
Just
So,
listen.
I ask a couple questions to everybody. One of them you kind of already answered, so I'm going to jump to the other two. If you're a reader, is there any favorite books that you have that you would suggest for people that maybe are interested in hearing what could help them if they have an interest in reading something?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I told you in the beginning, when I was in the process of changing my life, I probably read over 1,000 books, and that is not even a little bit of an exaggeration. It's
Wow.
probably an understatement. But one of the best books, a lot of people, especially your audience in sales, I will tell you, "The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind" is one of my favorite books. I've probably read it 3 or 4 times. My husband and I read it together. I have money affirmations on my wall. One of the things that we didn't really get into, but like a lot of the work that I do is reprogramming stories and habits that are no longer serving you to reprogram things that serve you and who you want to be in your life. And one thing that I witness in a lot of people, men and women, no matter how much money they make, is money mindset. Money is just this weird taboo thing that no one wants to talk about. I love talking about money, and I love reprogramming stories about money because there is a shit ton of money in this world, and I love it because
Yeah.
good people can do good things with money. That was one of my former mentors' things. But The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind is a fantastic book on money. I always really like that. There's another book called Grit by Angela Duckworth. So back in 2019, I hiked Mount Kilimanjaro. We raised $1 million for charity. I did it with another 11 human beings that were amazing, and we all read that book afterwards. I had actually read it beforehand, but Grit is a fantastic book when it comes to like mindset, about being successful. So those are two good ones.
Well, because it's selling with stores, I got to ask. So, what was that story of climbing the mountain like, especially sharing with other people?
Oh my gosh. So if you go to my Instagram, B Christina, BeChristina, you go to my Instagram, there's a highlight bubble that says Kilimanjaro. So on Instagram, there's these little highlight bubbles,
Yeah.
just kind of going back. And in 2019, I climbed it for a children's charity. And it was one of the most incredible, amazing experiences of my life. I would never let my husband go now because I know what it was when I was there, but it was amazing. It was such a blessing, such an opportunity. I did summit. So I summited healthy and safely. And I kind of talk about the I signed up for this 1 month and 1 day before I left. I had literally never slept in a tent. I ordered everything that I needed off Amazon, including everything from like the gear to, a tube that you pee in. Like I'm
Yeah.
talking everything.
Yeah. You
But
went
I
to a
put it,
website and say, what do I need to hike?
yep,
And I have nothing there. And it gives you
yeah.
all this list and you just bought it all.
I bought every single thing. Trust me, it's not a cheap venture.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was incredible. I got very sick because I started to get oxygen deprivation. Like I
Yeah.
summited, and then they gave me medicine. And when everyone else was starting to feel better, I was starting to feel worse. It was because I was allergic to the medicine that they actually gave me. So the brain swelling medicine actually had a like an allergic reaction. So I got very sick. But go
Yeah.
check out the highlights. You can see me. I definitely look my sexiest for sure. My face is so swollen. You can't even tell who I am. It's just, yeah, it's bad, but it was cool. It was like a Netflix series that was not a Netflix series.
No, that's great. Now, you mentioned some people just because you get to work with some of them too. Is there anybody in the business world that you look up to, and why? Why is that?
I'll be honest. I think my husband. I've been with my husband for 20 years. I've had very, very blessed. I have a lot of clients. People always slam, kind of like we talked about. People always slam the golf course, and people shouldn't be playing golf for as many hours as they do. But some of the best things that I've learned in business and that I've shared with my clients have come from on the golf course. I'll be honest. I play at very nice country clubs, and I play during the day. Well, a lot of those people are retired old men who have made a lot of money and have the flexibility to be
Yeah.
able to play golf at noon on a Friday or noon on a Wednesday. Some of my clients are worth close to $1 billion, $500,000 net worth of, hundreds of millions of dollars. And I've learned a lot from those guys along the way. A lot of them have strong personalities. They're assholes. A lot of, like there's a lot of things that I've learned on the golf course, but I'll probably say that the business person that I admire the most is my husband. I've been with him for 20 years. He came from nothing, a double wide trailer where him and his three brothers, or his four brothers, him and his three other brothers, shared a bedroom. And his company is, last year, they crossed over 50 million. So it's been really cool to watch him and the risks that he's taken. He is extremely smart, hardest working person I've ever met. And so I'm very fortunate to live with the person I admire the most.
No, that's great. And I have to ask, if you guys are golfing together, money on the table or not, and it's a
Yeah.
4 foot putt, is he giving it to you, or are you giving it to him?
No, God, no. Neither one of us. Are you kidding? Neither one of us. We're both so competitive. But my husband is one of the cool people that says, because people are always like, oh my God, you play golf with her and she beats you, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, listen, it was her job. She was supposed to be good at it.
Yeah.
And I definitely have to give him strokes. I give him one shot a hole. And sometimes, he beats me and sometimes I beat him. But we don't play a ton just because he works so much. But
Yeah.
it's something that we enjoy to do together. We've chosen not to have children, so we spend a lot of time together. We have a really amazing life where we travel a lot, and so we even played golf this weekend. So yeah,
Great.
it's pretty cool.
No, that's great. And one thing you through your story and everything you're telling, I listen to a lot of podcasts. I listen to some of your podcast episodes. I also listen to a guy, Ed Milet, who
Yeah,
he
I
just
know.
has a lot of really good guests on there. And he had a guy, Rory Vaden, on one time,
Yeah,
and he had said, find your uniqueness and exploit it in the service of others. And I feel as if now more than ever, you found out that's where your gift is, and you're doing it every day, which, again, just talking with you now for 45, 50 minutes, it comes across so natural. You're clearly doing what you should be doing. And, you're a special person to talk with. I'm excited that we got to do this. And I'm also excited to continue to watch your journey and follow every step of the way. So
oh my gosh,
you
thank you.
mentioned B Christina. Sorry to interrupt you, but you mentioned B
No.
Christina. I wanted to make sure that people could find out, more about you, especially whether it's a client or just learning more about you. Where can they do that?
Absolutely. Come follow me, either LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all the things. I will say that the only place I actually personally post is Instagram at bchristina, Christina. And my website is where you can find out everything. But like if you go to one of those social media platforms, just click the link in the bio. I can give you my website. It's ChristinaLecuyer.com. But hey, my last name is fucking hard. Lecuyer.com, ChristinaLecuyer.com. But if you go to any of those social media platforms, you should be able to find me. And yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, Christina, you rock. You're a great inspiration for men, women, anybody out there recognizing that maybe their journey that they were on isn't, the journey they want to be on. And you've given some really great insight and some really, again, truth will set you free. You were as truthful as you could possibly be on this podcast, and it just shines to know people can resonate with you because you're willing to go there. And I thank you that you're willing to go there today for selling stories. So thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And yeah, don't forget, no matter how old you are, anyone can decide it is their turn at any moment in time. And that is the podcast, Decide It's Your Turn.
So you heard it from Christina. You heard it here from Jeff, Selling Stories with Christina Lecuyer. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining me, and everybody make it a great day. Thank you.